Right, let's do an update from the Polytunnel. So this is a week on from the bitterly cold 2-week period we had where we were getting minus temperatures every night. We got lows of -4 in my location. I didn't actually have a thermometer in here at the time. I have now, but I know from the greenhouse that it did get nearly -2 in the greenhouse, so I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere sort of similar temperature range we got in here, if not maybe -3 on the coldest nights. So let's have a look at some of the plants and see what damage we've got. It is a fairly breezy day, but not so breezy in here. So looking at it, all the cannas I had were green up until that freeze period we had. So they're obviously all browned off now, pretty much. We've got a couple of green leaves on some of them, but so we're not going to keep the foliage on them, we know that. So I might just let them die down a bit more, then I'll cut them back closer to spring and we can get them grown from scratch next year. But I was hoping to keep the foliage on some of the bananas, but that's sort of obviously not an option now. That has wilted, and we've got some Sycamore bananas, Bengal tigers. I think the leaves have wilted on them as well, so we're not going to keep the foliage on them, which is disappointing. I would have liked to have had them with a couple of leaves to start off the new growing season, but you know, just stressing that we don't normally get that sort of cold. So yeah, obviously the tender leafy plants have not liked the cold, but a lot of the cordylines and stuff we've got in here are absolutely fine, showing no signs of damage. They're still nice, and these are mainly red stars. They're all looking pretty good. Might be easier actually to start from one end and work my way through, mightn't it? So we've got the parlour palm here, which is an indoor plant, Chamaedorea elegans. This has always been kept indoors, but I know a lot of you already know this, but I'll go through the background. That was covered in mealybugs, so hopefully this cold spell has been enough to kill all the mealybugs on it, but not quite cold enough to kill the plant. So we'll see on that. We'll see next year if that starts growing again. I mean, we have got a new spear coming there, which looks quite nice and green. Obviously we have got some damage on some of the older fronds, but I think a lot of that is because I just chucked it outside and didn't harden off to the sun either, so some of that will be sun damage, some will be cold damage. I did have a load of spider plants outside in pots. I've got millions of these because you know how these sort of propagate real quick, and they're looking a bit worse for wear, so I don't know if they'll pull through. They might do, they might regrow again, but being in small pots, I'm guessing these probably froze through pretty solid over that freeze period. Interestingly, the zebra ferns we got from Morrison's maybe a week or so before the freeze, might have been a couple of weeks before, showing a bit of signs of cold damage. Some of the leaves have browned a bit, but I think in general they're not the hardiest ferns in the world, don't get me wrong, but I think they'll be okay. Not too concerned about them. A very small standard fatsia grown from seed, no problem. Some other fatsias here. So we've got the polycarpa green fingers and the variegated. They all seem pretty good. There's a couple of older leaves which I think already started to brown on them, so I'm not too concerned. They've been absolutely fine. again, in quite small pots, but I think we were lucky where we were a lot of the time over that freeze period. We did have sort of sunny days, which obviously gave us the fall and sort of bounce back temperatures, which definitely helped. Unfortunately, the Cyathea cooperi at the back there, a lot of the fronds on that have browned off. It's a shame because they were looking quite nice. It's like quite big fronds on them, but you know, I could have brought it into the conservatory, but we wanted to test it a bit this year, and we know that's going to brown off, but that'll flush out again in spring. Not too concerned about that. So the Livingstoner chinensis potted, it's looking okay. We'll keep an eye on that one. May well show damage later on. I know the one I had in the ground over the last couple of winters that always lost a couple of leaves. A couple of the older leaves that tend to brown off. They sort of start off brown tipped and sort of work their way into the leaf, and eventually you lost the whole leaf. But that's sort of a long-term cold damage situation. You're not going to see that straight away. That'll be over the next month or two. We'll see that. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see how that does. But the idea is to really sort of harden this one off to get it in the ground in the coming spring. So that'll be a good tester for that. Nico palms. That's the coldest temperatures I've ever seen. I am seeing a little bit of brown tipping on some of these. Not too concerned. Both got new spears coming, so I'm not expecting them to be growing this time of year, but hopefully in the spring when we get them again, that's going to be a palm that's going to grow out into the garden in the border at some point next year. So we want to give them a taste of the cold this winter, and they certainly had that. The palmettos, so we've got the Riverside's standard sable palmetto, and a little dwarf palmetto there, sable minor. These sort of temperatures shouldn't worry them too much. They're obviously quite hardy. Some of the leaves have got very slight brown tip on, but this is the first sort of time they've probably seen sort of negative temperatures, so don't expect for them to look perfect. You know, they are going to take a bit of damage for the first cold period they've seen in their entire lives. You can have the hardiest palm in the world until they've seen a frost, until they've seen minus temperatures. They're always going to take damage, but again, to be expected to an extent. But that is going to make them a little bit more used to it and acclimatized, acclimated, whatever you want to call it, to the winters they're going to be seeing in the future. Alright, so I've got quite a lot of bench space in here. I have built another couple of benches, so we've got benches each side now. This is totally empty at the minute. Like I said, I don't really want to clog this up with plants over winter. Most of the plants I want to protect are already in other places, so this is going to be a sort of empty area for now until the spring hits. Then we'll get everything, get some seeds going and whatever, some annuals, and probably get my elephant ears started off in here in the spring. So we've got plenty of surface area there, and obviously we've got room underneath the benches for whatnot. So yeah, it's just a little look just to see what the damage was really over that freeze period we had, and just to acknowledge the fact that, you know, the UK, we do get cold, but nothing like what they've been having in the US and in Canada the last few days. So I hope everyone has protected their plants accordingly, and hopefully everything pulls through for you. We'll leave it at that, and thanks for watching.